The Michael Berry Show.
You have to have some people that are obsessed over their issue, because most of us are kind of generalists. And if somebody's not obsessed over an issue, they never move the ball down the field. If Tom Brady played every sport, he would have dominated football. Michael Jordan, despite a stint in baseball, was focused in the gym on improving his jump shot. So when Mary Talley Bowden posts something about Donald Trump that is praise for Trump on the issue of COVID, I take notice because she's a very harsh critic. The president came into the White House and had a very successful first 3 years. January of 2020, the economy's booming. Things are great. There's no chance anybody can beat him. Most people don't remember this, but it's not. I keep articles. I keep data. I keep notes. Most people don't remember there was no chance you were going to beat him. He was insanely popular. The economy was doing too well. And then they unleash the Wuhan virus, the Chinese flu, COVID. What does Trump do? A couple months into it, he says, look, we're not going to sit around and wallow in the sadness. We're going to do something about this. We're going to fix it. We're going to innovate. We're going to invent. We're going to create. We're going to solve this. So he brought the best minds in, or who he thought were. He never done this before. Operation Warp Speed. We're going to do it. We're going to do it now. This is a guy who came into public projects in New York, where they were years behind, millions of dollars behind, and said, we're going to get it done. We're going to get it done overnight. That's what business owners do. They're not nice about it. We're going to crack heads. And if you can't get this done, I want this part done in a week. It should take us a month. Find me somebody. You read Elon's book by Walter Isaacson. Elon will say, I want this rotor to be able to run, 10,000 hours continuously without a single. And they go, oh, it'll take us. No, I want it done in 60 days. That's going to take a year. All right, you're out. Who on the team can make it happen? And finally, somebody who's ambitious steps forward and says, I'll do it. Well, Operation Warp Speed meant that Trump had to trust people who it turns out weren't trustworthy. From Fauci to Birx to Big Pharma. And then the quote-unquote vaccine came out. Trump never wanted it to be mandatory, but the big pharmaceutical companies did, and the public health professionals did, and the lefties got caught up in it. Again, remember we talked about it? They got to have a cause? Well, this is their cause. It's global warming one day, you got to get the shot next day. And they wanted your life over if you didn't take that vaccine. They want everybody to do it. And then when they did that, we're going to move to the next thing. Trannies for everybody, or something. And a lot of people died, including my brother, from taking that damn shot. So the president is now saying to pharmaceutical companies, which is the first time he's really come out and done this publicly in writing, hey, you're going to have to tell me what you knew and when you knew it. You're going to have to show me how you did what you did. So then I'm reading comments. I'm seeing how people are going to respond to that. And I come across this one from a fella I don't know. He writes under the name Harry Fisher, EMTP. Mr. President, I'm writing to it as a paramedic who has worked day after day in the field, responding to emergencies where people's lives hang in the balance. I don't sit behind a desk and I don't deal in theories. I deal in blood, broken bodies, and human reality. The reality is why I cannot ignore what I personally witnessed, a 12-year-old girl who suffered a stroke shortly after receiving her COVID shot. Pfizer. This was not propaganda, not a story I read online. It was in front of me. A child with a medical catastrophe that should never have happened. You've recently called on Pfizer, Moderna, and the CNC to release the full data on these drugs. That demand is not only right, but it is long overdue. The public is fed safe and effective slogans. Those of us on the medical front lines see the injuries, the side effects, and the tragedies that get swept under the rug. Families are left in the dark, told it's a coincidence, and pressured into silence. The drug companies parade miracle statistics in press releases, but they never release the raw truth. Why not? If their products are the life-saving breakthroughs they claim, then full transparency would vindicate them. And if their products cause widespread harm, then the public is owed nothing less than honesty. Mr. President, Operation Warp Speed was held as a triumph. If it truly was, Americans should see the proof unfiltered, not curated charts, not spin, not sanitized reports. And if it wasn't, the families who lost sons, daughters, fathers, mothers deserve accountability. And brothers. On the ground, I've seen too much to let this slide into bureaucratic silence. Hidden data doesn't save lives. Truth does. I'm asking you directly to please demand that Pfizer, Moderna, and others release the full clinical trial data, adverse event reports, and internal communications. Compel the CDC to stop hiding behind vague reassurances and publish all raw numbers. Give the American people what they were promised, the truth. The debate must end. The secrecy must end. What I witnessed in that 12-year-old's case is just one story, but there are thousands upon thousands more out there unreported. Lives have been destroyed. The American people deserve closure. I urge you, don't let corporate interests or captured regulators bury this any longer. With sincere urgency, Harry Fisher, Paramedic. Now, the story he was responding to was President Trump posting, "It's very important that the drug companies justify the success of their various COVID drugs. Many people think they are a miracle that saved millions of lives. Others disagree. With CDC being ripped apart over this question, I want the answer, and I want it now. I've been shown information from Pfizer and others that is extraordinary, but they never seem to show those results to the public. Why not? They go off to the next hunt and let everyone rip themselves apart, including Bobby Kennedy Jr. and CDC, trying to figure out the success or failure of the drug companies' COVID work. They show me great numbers and results, but they don't seem to be showing them to many others. I want them to show them now to CDC and the public and clear up this mess one way or another. I hope Operation Warp Speed was as brilliant as many say it was. If not, we all want to know about it and why. Thank you for your attention to this very important matter. President DJT." Now, Harry Fisher, the same fellow who posted that one, posted another. "I've collected vaccine-injured friends by the hundreds. I've seen injured people by the thousands." He writes about his experience as a first responder to people with vaccine injuries. We're not talking about COVID. We're talking about a vaccine. They didn't have to take it. He'll be our guest coming up.
No, Chris, he's eating right now. He can't be bothered.
Mr. Michael Berry.
Sir, please do not call him a fat pig. See, I'm trying to be nice. Don't call him a fat pig.
Harry Fisher. If you're on Twitter, he's Harry Fisher, all caps, EMTP. Welcome to the program, sir.
Thank you for having me on. Start off by saying I'm really sorry about your brother.
Well, thank you. Why are you wearing a beanie? Are you bald?
No, I've got way too much hair on my head. I was working in Alaska a lot. Because I've been a contract medic for many years, working all over the place from New York City to Alaska, and I worked in Alaska for a couple of years, so it was typically cold, so I'd wear a beanie.
Oh,
Plus
yeah.
It keeps my hair back. I have long hairs, and I don't like wearing a ponytail, so a beanie will hold it back.
But you will occasionally wear a ponytail.
Convenient.
Do you ever wear a man bun?
Yeah. I have worn a man bun before, but I feel bad every time I do it. But it is convenient.
How long is your hair if you used to let it go?
and-
How far down your back would it go?
Oh, probably about midway, maybe a little bit shorter than midway. I stopped cutting my hair whenever I got out of the Air Force. I was Army initially, Air Force, second branch, and then after that I grew a beard and grew long hair, but now with the paramedic job that I'm working, they don't let me have a full beard anymore. I can only have like a goatee and a mustache. They want you to be able to wear those masks, so I've got to actually shave my beard. But they'll let me keep my hair, thank the Lord.
I can't tell you how many people, and I didn't even know this was done. 20 years ago, I didn't know this. I can't tell you how many people I've talked to who serve in one branch and then serve in another. Some of them will serve an entire career in one and then go serve another one. I didn't know when I was younger that was a thing that could even be done.
Yeah, it's, I tell people I wanted to work smarter, not harder, so I went to the Air Force. But that's just mainly because my friends give me a hard time for crossing over to the Air Force. I wanted to be a flight medic. I was a medic in the Army, medic in the Air Force. I wanted to be a flight medic, so I crossed over to the Air Force. And crossing over from the Army to the Air Force, you don't have to go through all the training and everything like the initial basic trainings for the Air Force. You basically just have to, raise your hand, swear an oath, and go figure out where your job's at. You don't have to do all the basic training and all that stuff.
My friend Robert Reese says he chose the Air Force because they had hot showers
and good food.
So when you show up,
bad at all.
When you show up on the scene and somebody has had a reaction, I suppose the reactions are different, or maybe there are consistencies throughout. And you believe it's the COVID shot who's done that because they were otherwise healthy, no comorbidities, no pre-existing conditions, and they're young. What do you notice about those people? What do you see upon arrival?
Well, I've seen so much upon arrival, but just typically it would be younger than I'd ever witnessed, because I've been an EMT since 1997, so quite a few years. So seeing the shots roll out, it was night and day, because I started running calls that were just very strange, like young heart attacks, young strokes, things that you would never see before the COVID shot came out. Like I wasn't even seeing that during COVID. Like during COVID, we didn't run very many pediatric calls. Like most of your kids were just stuck indoors, not going out and getting sick like they typically do at school. So our children's hospitals were quite slow, really slow. And then when the shots rolled out and they opened the gates back up, you started running the typical calls when your kids were getting sick, of course. Kids get sick, it's how they build their immune system. But then you started running these calls where kids were having, it looked like just full-blown MI, which means like their EKG looked like they were having a heart attack, but that's a big sign of myocarditis. It looks like they're having a heart attack. So running these calls right after the shots, it was, like I said, night and day. Anybody who didn't have big pharma blinders on, you could just see it very clear. I was lucky enough I say lucky, it wasn't really lucky, but in my case, there was some luck there, because I was thinking about going ahead and taking the shot anyways, because I was bought into the system to a degree. But right at the start of them rolling these shots out, I got a 911 call to what I call a Pfizer line. Those big lines where everybody was lined up like cattle to get their shot right at the start when they rolled out the shot?
The tents.
Yeah. Go ahead.
No, they would have them in tents.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, tents and in parking lots.
People couldn't wait. They couldn't wait. They were like calves to the slaughter and had no idea. They were, I got to go. I'm going to get my shot. Why? I'm not going to be able to get COVID. Okay, so they scared you to death over COVID to get you to rush and get this thing that you're going to get free that's going to save your life. And you trust it and don't know it. I'm too everything. Yeah, give me a shot. It just shocked me how people would do that.
It was, and they would wait there just in that line, like we say, cattle. And I get there to a 911 call to a full arrest, meaning someone's dead. So I get there, fire department's already doing CPR, initiated CPR for me. I take over the scene, start working this younger lady, not an old person, younger. And she's dead. And we go through everything. I intubate her. I shock her multiple times because she's in a shockable rhythm. It didn't look like an allergic reaction, because you can tell signs of allergic reaction. It looked like she went into a lethal arrhythmia, because I shocked a lethal arrhythmia 3 times. She was in VTAC predominantly, but inevitably I couldn't save her. And I worked this young lady in front of a crowd of people that were still waiting to get their shot. At one point, I remember looking over my shoulder, and no one's leaving this line. This person just got their shot. They're dead. There's this scene in front of them of fire department and EMS and the nurses that were on scene, all trying to bring this lady back. And at one point, the nurse that gave the shot loudly, not quiet, loudly said, "This is the second one in 2 weeks."
And by the way, they would not have died from COVID. Harry Fisher, EMTP, he's an EMT in real life. EMTP on Twitter is our guest coming up.
Michael Berry.
Harry Fisher is our guest. I don't know Harry Fisher. I read a post he put up in response to President Trump demanding that the pharmaceutical companies answer questions about the dangers of the COVID shot. They called it a vaccine. It wasn't. It does not qualify as a vaccine. What did qualify as a vaccine was not shipped within the United States. It was sent abroad. The number of people who have died suddenly, just look up the term died suddenly in quotes. There are entire websites devoted to it. We've had young, healthy basketball players, 16, 17, 18 years old, dribbling the ball up the court, collapse on the spot and die. We've had journalists who were on camera at international soccer events who were the biggest proponents of it die. Joe Rogan said this week, one of the great tragedies is that the people who were advocating for it so much, young, healthy people themselves died after taking it. We've got video of people who received the shot and were hauled away immediately after receiving the shot from the shot. Now, if this was Ebola, fine. It's willing to take a risk for an upside. But we're talking about something less deadly than the common flu that we get every year. Oh, but people died, Michael. The morbidly obese and the elderly. Those are comorbidities that make it far more likely you'll die. Young, healthy people didn't die. My 54-year-old relatively healthy brother would not have died. Teenagers, college kids, young people, athletes, doctors, runners, people in good shape. This thing was dangerous, and it killed a lot of people. And the worst part about that is how many people don't want to admit that. Not because they got rich off of it because they work for Pfizer, but because they're embarrassed or because they played a part in approving it. The truth has to get out. Sunlight is the best disinfectant. Harry Fisher, let me first say, I think it's cool you're a paramedic. I think that is up there with being a preacher or a teacher or a cop. I think, the idea, I'm from a selfish perspective, you're helping people. It's got to be cool to feel like, you're responding and helping people. And when you get to walk away from someone and changing, their condition, that has to be a high.
Yeah, it is. It's definitely a calling. You don't get into being an EMT or paramedic for money. That's one of the first things you learn in school. I think one of the first things I remember my instructor telling me many, many years ago is if you want to be a millionaire, you're in the wrong business. So we do it because we like to help people. I agree.
Would you do it over again?
It's 100%. I wouldn't do anything different. There's a few things that during this time I would have done differently. Like the lady that died and I couldn't save that in that Pfizer line after she just took her shot. Whenever I looked over my shoulder and saw a bunch of people just standing there like cattle, I would have maybe screamed at them. I know it probably wouldn't have changed anything, but I've thought about that over and over again. Like, could I have told them, hey, she just took this substance and she's dead. Get out of line. Please get out of the line. Maybe I would have done something like that, try to help more. But since then, I've experienced so many people that only better way I can say it is brainwashing. People that have been abused so bad by a system telling them to fear, that they've been abused into this brainwashed state where they'll do anything that big Pfizer, big Pharma, big Moderna tells them to do through their favorite politician. They will do whatever they're told because they've been abused. I liken it to people that have been molested, because whenever you run into someone who's been abused or molested, they don't want to, typically they don't want to blame their abuser or even talk about their abuser. Mm-hmm. They want to pretend like it never happened. Mm-hmm. Well, our society has been so molested and abused at this point, they want to just sweep it under the rug. It's sickening.
The fear
it's truly sickening.
Was the critical component. You had to have people so afraid that in that fear, they would do irrational things. I've studied successful prank calls. And one of the things successful prank callers did was you create a crisis. Now there are these spam callers that are basically a prank caller for profit, where they get people to give their information, or they're going to cut off your electricity, or your kid's a hostage or whatever. You create a situation where someone is on their heels and frightened, and they do things they would never otherwise do. They're not methodical and measured in their answers. The fear was the most important part of COVID. And that is why when they start preaching fear, everyone should have their hackles up and say, wait a second, why is it so important that they frighten me? And there will always be those weak people. You know what's amazing to me, Harry, is how many people have said to me, man, I hate that I got the shot. I would never do that again, to which I always respond, yes, you will. No, not knowing what I know now. The point is you had to make that decision knowing what you knew then. And you're a person who, out of complete fear, will always jump in and throw caution to the wind and good judgment to the wind, because you will give in to fear. And people that will do that will always do that. There will be another COVID. There will be more COVIDs. They'll come in different ways, but there will be turning on your friend to help the Nazis. There will be turning in the lady next door as the Salem witch. There will be more. This is endemic to the human condition. Harry Fisher, I'm grateful for you. Thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for sharing your perspective. And I'm glad to know that, God forbid, at some point there'll be a call that I'll need an EMT, and I hope you're the guy on the other end of the line.
I appreciate you, sir, and I'll be praying for you and your family, and I appreciate the prayers as well.